Hi, let's talk about options. First of all, definition. What is an option? An option is a security that has a value that is, to some extent, maybe to a great extent, dependent upon the value of the asset that underlies the option contract itself. Very popular options are stock options, and stock options, of course, have stock as the asset that underlies the option. For example, if you have a call or a put on Tesla, then Tesla stock is the security, that is the asset that underlies the option itself. And options exist with many different underlying assets. Currencies, stocks, stock indices, commodity, futures, many, many more. But my focus will be on probably the most interesting, and that will be stock options. So let's talk about stock options right now. There are a lot of ways of dichotomizing options. We'll start with probably the most appealing, and that is there are two types of options: call options and put options. Now, the definition of these two different options is very similar, with the exception of one word. So let's start with call options. The definition of a call option is that it is the right to purchase 100 shares of the underlying asset at a given price on or before the option expiration date. So this is the definition of a call option, okay? The right to purchase 100 shares of the underlying asset at a given price on or before the option expiration date. That indicates, of course, that the option expires, which means an option is a wasting asset. It has a limited life. So call options, the right to buy 100 shares of the underlying asset, in this case it's a stock, at a given price. That given price is known as the exercise price. It's also known as the strike price. Exercise price and strike price are synonyms. On or before the option's expiration date. Okay? So that's the definition of a call. If you own a call option, you own the right to pay a certain price per share for each of 100 shares of the underlying stock on or before an option expiration date. Here we're talking about a specific type of option known as an American option, okay? And what makes this definition the definition of an American option is that we can exercise the option on or before the option expiration date, on or before. There's another type of option contract known as a European option. And with a European option, you may only exercise the option on option expiration date, okay? And we'll see as we go through our exploration of all things option that that distinction is pretty important, okay? But we're going to be focusing on American options. So once again, if you own a call option on Tesla stock, you have the right to buy 100 shares of Tesla at a given price, known as the exercise price or strike price, on or before the option's expiration date. Notation might help you see this. We might be talking about a May 2020 Tesla 440 call. This indicates that the option expires in May. Unless otherwise noted, it would be the third Friday of the month. So the third Friday of May in 2020 is the expiration date. And if you own one of these, you would have the right to pay $440 for each and every one of 100 shares of Tesla stock. And this option, this call option, would itself have a market price. So this option itself, this right to purchase shares of Tesla will have a market price. We're going to spend a little time thinking about that. Let me run over here and get a different color marker. Now, think for a moment about the same call except, a Tesla call, but a different Tesla call in that the strike price is 430. And let's learn something very important. Given that a call option gives you the right to buy stock, what price would you rather have the right to pay? 440 or 430? Well, we like to pay low prices. So the right to pay 430 will be more valuable to us than the right to pay 440. And so if the price of this call is, let's say, X, then all we know is that the price of this call has to be X plus some additional value I'll call A, okay? At almost all times in the options life, almost all times. There's a tricky point that we'll get to much later, okay? Now, another thing that we might consider is, let's now compare the May 2020 Tesla 440 call, remember 440 is the strike price, with another option. In this case, it'll be a July 2020 Tesla 440 call. So in this case, the strike price is the same. I could also say the exercise price is the same, but the expiration date is different. In this case, we see that the expiration date is now further in the future than for the May, of course. Now, think about it. If you have two options, both giving you the right to pay $440 a share for 100 shares of Tesla, which one would be more valuable to you? One that has a longer life or one that has a shorter life? And the answer is quite clear. You'd rather have the option with the longer life. So this price here would have to be equal to X plus some additional amount. I'll now call that additional amount B. Okay, so therein we see probably the first piece of analysis that exists with options, that being market prices differing based upon factors that are observable. And the two factors we saw, again, were first a change in only the strike price of the call, and then a change in the life of the call, a delay in the expiration. And so what I can say is that in equilibrium, the May 2020 Tesla 440 call will have a price that, again, in equilibrium, is lower than the May 2020 Tesla 430 call, and in equilibrium is also lower than the July 2020 440 strike call. And so if you want to pause the video and maybe replay it or think through that, that would be wise, in my opinion. So there we go, noting that one major observation is that call prices differ based upon logical criteria, okay? So here we have a call option. It's a right to purchase shares. And at any point in time, let's say for Tesla stock, there are probably thousands of options in existence. Thousands. You can go online and check and just look, for example, at January Tesla calls, and you will see strike prices probably beginning at 200, going all the way to 500 or 600, and then realize you have maybe a $2.50 difference in the strike prices of the various options that are available, and think of all those options that are there. And then you've got not just the January, but February and March, and so many more options that exist, different expiration dates. So it's important that you realize how many different options exist at one point in time, even on a single stock. And then when you think about all the stocks that exist that have options that underlie them, then you realize how broad the market for options really is.